Hello, my friends. I'm here in this rich field of Warren County dirt, and I'm looking at a bunch of newly planted tobacco plants. Why am I here? Well, back at Christmas time, I was at the Community Farmers Market in Bowling Green trying to do some Christmas shopping. I met this guy named Roger Cook who's making these shirts called Kentucky Tobacco Shirts. He takes a white t-shirt, he soaks dry tobacco leaves, and then he dyes these shirts and these hats using that tobacco. I called Roger up. I said, Roger, I want to find out how you make those shirts. And he said, well, Wes, come on out. The guy I buy my tobacco from in Plano, Kentucky, he's setting tobacco today. So, come on out and see us. Well, we're here. You're going to find out how tobacco's set, how it's grown, and also how Roger makes these shirts. And by the way, I have a kind of weird nostalgia for this crop here because I grew up in Barron County raising a lot of it with my family, and we've had our hands in every element of the tobacco growing process. So many hours go into it. I think people have no idea just what a labor-intensive, hand-produced crop tobacco is. So today we're going to talk to Roger, we're going to talk to Jimmy Fallon, who owns the farm, and find out how Roger makes these cool little shirts. Well, folks, what we're looking at right here is a local economy. We got Roger Cook over here that makes these Kentucky tobacco shirts using the tobacco that Mr. Jimmy Fallon grows, and Macy is here for all kinds of good support. We're going to talk a little bit about how tobacco is grown and how it ends up to be that shirt. Now, the fact that I used to be able to drive around this countryside and see all kinds of tobacco patches, now I hardly see any, but there are a few farmers still growing this stuff. You're one of them. What happened with the buyout exactly, and how's that changed the Kentucky farm economy?
Well, with the buyout, the government bought out the tobacco farmers. Everybody had a quota, and the government bought those out and paid them over 7 years. And that way, they got out of it, and we're able to. The ones that still growing it are usually growing it on a larger scale.
Right.
But back then, before the buyout, we had to sell through a warehouse, through the auction, and if buyers didn't buy it, the government would have a price support on it and they would buy it. After the buyout, anybody that wants to farm tobacco now, you can farm as much as you want and sell it to whoever you want, for that matter.
Kentucky is a good growing area for several things. Obviously, horses, to name the most famous one, and we have the bourbon that comes from the good limestone water. What makes Kentucky, or this area especially, so good for raising burley?
For this area, raising burley, it's the type of dirt and our climate. It's not going to grow. You're not going to grow burley tobacco over in South Carolina because the soil's different and the climate is different. But you're standing in the heart of the burley belt when you're in Warren County, Barron County.
That's right.
A few more counties around here for burley tobacco.
The price of tobacco remained relatively stable in part because farmers could only grow X percentage, X number of pounds based on the allotment of land that they had, right?
Right.
Which kept the total supply down to a kind of certain level, so you could still you won't get rich off of it, like I say, unless you grow a huge amount of it, but you got a decent price, decent steady price for your tobacco. Now, with the free market, that may not be the case, right?
Well, it hasn't been since the buyout. It's got cheaper by the pound, and that's what growers expected.
Sure.
And that's what's kept growers, that's why they got out, because it got so cheap. I said after the buyout myself, I said, it'll take a few years. It actually took a few years longer than I thought it would for it to come back to a decent price, which it has in the last 12 months. At the time I met Roger, I was looking for an alternative way to sell tobacco at a premium price.
Yes, sir.
Because of how cheap it was, and that's exactly what.
And you found a sucker in Roger.
And that's right, that's right. No, me and Roger has worked together, and he's happy and I'm happy. So that's been a good partnership for us.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see, again, a kind of local farm economy, seeing people try to find out different ways to make use of what you have.
Exactly.
You're raising tobacco. You got a guy here, Mr. Cook, who wants to turn plain white t-shirts into these really cool looking tie-dyes, Kentucky tie-dyes. Roger, you're gonna show us a little bit here in a minute about how you make these shirts, right?
That's right.
Stick around, folks. Oh wow, check that out. It creates really a natural tie-dye, right? Yeah. I think it's a really attractive shirt. More Go Local is coming up. Stay tuned. Roger, we're here. I'm sitting on the tailgate of your real nice truck.
Yes, sir.
There's a nice block of Burley tobacco here. That odor brings me right back to my youth, where I used to strip this stuff throughout the Thanksgiving time with my whole family. Dusty barn full of it. I don't miss it too much, but that smell does take me back. So you're gonna show us a little bit about how you take this plant right here that starts out green in the field, hangs in the barn, dries into these pretty leaves, and then you turn these into that. So how's that happen anyway?
Well, we went to Hawaii, my wife and I, on our 25th wedding anniversary, and we were looking for souvenirs and we couldn't find anything that wasn't made in China or Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so we were at an open air market, and the guy had a t-shirt that said Red Dirt shirt. And so when I came back, I was like, well, there ought to be something here in Kentucky, but our dirt maybe is not as unique.
So this guy in Hawaii was making t-shirts out of Hawaiian dirt.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, or staining them with it.
Okay, cool.
Right. We looked around for some items that we thought might work, and hit on a couple, no luck.
Yeah.
And finally, a friend of mine said, why not tobacco?
Yeah. So y'all take these leaves,
Right.
you put them in a vat with water,
Yes,
and you boil them.
we boil them.
Yep.
I've started putting the tobacco leaf that's been boiled in with the shirt and roll them up nice and tight to try to get some markings on them.
So in 3 days, a white t-shirt has taken on that kind of color right there.
Right, now that's
Yeah.
about all it'll get in that first vat. Okay, at the end of the first week, I refresh that whole tobacco vat, and then it'll be somewhere between these two colors. And then the third week, I'll refresh it again, and then that's when we get this final color.
You've really soaked a lot of the odor out of it as well. I say
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of the pungency is in that water right now.
Yeah.
We've got more on the way. More Go Local is coming up. Stay tuned. Oh wow, check that out. So this is a 3-week aged shirt. I really love how when Roger wraps these leaves up in them, it creates really a natural tie-dye, right?
Yeah, we heat it is the way we set the color. If I shortcut the process, the color will fade.
You heat the shirt?
Well, yeah, we actually dry the shirt in a dryer to help set the color.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Totally.
We've got to get it above 160 degrees for it to take.
They don't all have just this emblem on there, right? Have you made some special ones?
That's true. We have some people that object to the word tobacco, but they love the color of the shirt.
Yes.
And so we have just plain shirts without the emblem.
Okay. Well, we know that the tobacco issue, because it does cause cancer, right, or has, that it is a controversial one, but it does
Right.
make a beautiful product. Now, you have these bags.
We do, and we also have the caps.
Yeah. Got my Kentucky tobacco cap on. I did ask Roger, I said, this should say the Kentucky tobacco cap, right? And he said, yeah, he'd have to pay for another patent
Right.
to do that. Stick around, folks. You don't want to miss what comes up next. Roger also does these things called absinthe shirts. And Roger, you make these with a byproduct of the absinthe making at the Corsair Distillery here in Bowling Green, right?
Right, the boys downtown.
So they make their liquor, and you get that.
Yeah. and I come and get the byproduct, and
Yes,
then I
sir.
use that. I boil it down as well
Uh-huh.
to get a nice concentrate, and then I use that to dye the shirt up.
And this kind of has a nice little green color. It's really neat.
Right.
Doesn't smell like absinthe though.
No.
So folks, I'm standing here in Mr. Follin's tobacco barn. This is the barn where you house the green tobacco for the long drying process. Now, I spent a whole lot of my junior high and high school years harvesting tobacco, and I'm going to show you what the farmers have to do. We don't have the live tobacco here now, the green stuff, but here's what you have to do. I got in my hand a tobacco stick, and during the harvesting process, the farmers climb up in the barns and they get up here and straddle these poles. These are called tier poles, and somebody on the wagon will be handing up these sticks full of green tobacco plants. You take it from the person below, bring it up, hang one here. You get another one, you can hang it here. And then you get another stick and you hang it up to the guy or woman up there in the top. And basically you hang the tobacco, the whole barn full of plants. And you know, it's really labor intensive, it's hard work, but I remember really good times with the family and the community members doing this because everybody came together to do it. Yeah, so anyway, if you've never seen a tobacco barn before, that's what this is.
This was the biggest change in tobacco right here, the greenhouse production of the transplants.
Yes, sir.
It made it quicker, easier, they're easier to mow, plus the big advantage is they're water plants and you don't lose as many in the field from dry weather and stuff.
Right, and then with the mowing system, you were just showing me, check this out. So instead of carrying a push mower down through your plants, one person on each side,
Right there, you're
you
right.
got this thing right here.
Right.
It just blows me away, and it's on some kind of rollers. It's really efficient. It makes sense, but you got to be big
Right.
for this to make sense, right?
Right. We raise about 25 acres right now. I have raised 35. We raise about 25, and there's the 300,000 seedlings plants in this greenhouse right here, which is at about 30 acres, close to 30 acres. After this, it's done just the same as it was, other than maybe a different type tobacco setter. It's done and cured just the same as it was 50 years ago. But this right here really helped the labor intense part of getting your transplants from seed to finish.